Hey everybody, today's Lost Sector is going to be Metamorphosis in the Throne World. There's going to be 3 Overloads and 2 Unstoppables. Looking at the perks, we're going to have Arc Threat, 25% increased incoming arc damage, as well as Arc Surge and Strand Surge with a Machine Gun Overcharge. Jumping straight into the Hunter build, we're going to be using Arc Strider with Assassin's Cowl. We're going to be using Gambler's Dodge so we get our melee back when we dodge. Combination Blow so we get stacking melee damage, and Skip Grenades so we could use any grenade. For the aspects, we're going to be using Flow State. Defeating a jolted target makes us amplified. Lethal Current, after we dodge, our melee jolts targets. This will allow us to stun jolted unstoppables with the melee. For our fragments, we're going to have Spark of Resistance. This will have us take less damage when we're surrounded. Spark of Feedback, after we take melee damage, we will do increased outgoing melee damage. Spark of Ions, defeating a jolted target creates an Ionic Trace. And Spark of Shock, arc grenades jolt targets. For the weapons, I'm going to be using a hand cannon for overloads, just in case I don't have my class ability ready, or a grenade. A 1-2 punch shotgun, and Leviathan's Breath for unstoppables, as well as boss damage, and general champion damage. For the artifact, the Elemental Orb's arc doesn't really come into play here, since we don't have an arc weapon on, but if you have an arc shotgun, you might make a few of them. Overload hand cannon and unstoppable fusion rifle are both good for this as well. Moving on to the mods, we're going to have Assassin's Cowl on, the hands-on mod, and an arc siphon mod, although you won't really be making too many orbs with your siphon mods. And then for our gloves, we're going to have 2 heavy-handed, so we make orbs when we get melee kills. On the chest plate, I have 2 arc resistances and a void. There is a lot of arc damage in here, as well as a little bit of void. You could toss up void and solar though. For the boots, I have an elemental charge, so when I pick up an Ionic Trace, it gives me armor charge, as well as a recuperation and a better already, so I get a little bit of health back when I pick up an orb. On the class item, I have Powerful Attraction, so every time I dodge, I pick up all the orbs. Starting out with the Lost Sector, there's going to be 2 overloads in this first room. This first room has the highest kill potential in the whole Lost Sector. It is a bit tough. We're not going to have time to stack Combination Blow, so we're just going to whittle down this overload with 1-2 punch and just normal punches. For the next overload, we will have Combination Blow times 3. Once we kill both the overloads, we can break the crystals and kill the knight. You don't have to kill all the adds in here, but it does make it a little safer. You'd save yourself a little bit of time leaving them alone, but I chose to just kill most of them. Once we jump down this hole, there will be an overload and an unstoppable in this room, and a Screeb will spawn behind you. Once we kill this overload, we can move up to the unstoppable. The splash damage from Leviathan's Breath will kill all the adds next to him. Once we kill both of those champions, we can break the crystals yet again and kill the knight. The crystals won't be in the same spot every time, they do have a couple spawn locations. Down in the boss room, there will be an unstoppable in here. Breaking all 3 of the crystals will start the boss's damage phase. If you take too long to kill him though, he will have to do the phase again. I wasted a lot of my super there because I didn't realize that I had to reshoot the crystals again, but that's okay. We still have a lot of Leviathan's Breath ammo left. As long as you throw your Gathering Storm at the correct time, you shouldn't have any problem killing this boss. Once you kill the boss, that's all there is to it. Happy farming today. Alright, taking a look at our Titan build, we are going to be doing Arc Titan today. I did a few runs on Solar, but it just wasn't cutting it. Starting off with our ability, we're going to be using Thruster or Barricade with Seismic Strike as well as Storm Grenades, but you could also use Pulse Grenades. Again, our aspects, we're going to be using Touch of Thunder, which makes it so our Pulse Grenades will create Ionic Traces, and our Lightning Grenades will track enemies as well as jolt targets hit by the initial blast. Knockout, which will heal us when we get a melee kill. Looking at the fragments, we're going to have Spark of Resistance, which gives us increased resistance while we are surrounded. Spark of Shock, which makes our arc grenades jolt targets. Spark of Magnitude, which makes our storms and pulse grenades last longer. And Spark of Feedback, taking melee damage, increases our outgoing melee damage. Looking at our guns, I have a hand cannon to stun overloads, just in case I don't have a grenade ready. Salvager Salvo, just to get some kills, a demolitionist weapon so I can get my grenades back quicker. And Leviathan's Breath for unstoppable stuns, as well as boss damage / overload champion damage. Looking at the artifact, overload hand cannon is good, unstoppable fusion rifle is also good. Make sure you have elemental orbs arc on. I didn't even have them on for the run. I don't really think the orbs are super useful. If you have them unlocked, great. If you don't, it's not a big deal. Looking at the mods, we're going to have Arc Siphon mods on since we're playing Arc, as well as an Ashes to Assets mod. A Grenade Kickstart mod so that we can get our grenade back quicker when we throw it, as well as a Firepower mod so we make an orb when we get a grenade kill. I had a Charged Up mod to get increased armor charge, as well as a Solar Resistance and a Harmonic Resistance, which turned out to be an Arc. I had Recuperation and Absolution on my leg armor, so I was a little bit safer with the build, and an Orbs of Restoration, so I get a small amount of energy to my ability with the least energy when I pick up an orb, as well as a powerful attraction, so every time I use Thruster, it would pick up the orbs in the area. Alright, moving on to the Lost Sector run. This is going to be the most difficult room in the whole Lost Sector. There's going to be 2 overloads here and a ton of adds. Lots of the adds in this room have shotguns, as well as a few of them will be able to freeze you. The main goal in this room is going to be to take it fairly easy, just stay alive, and kill the adds as quickly as you can. Once we kill that second overload, we can go shoot these crystals and kill the knight to open the door. Once we kill this knight, the door will open and we can proceed to the next room. When we drop down, there's going to be an overload and an unstoppable in this room, as well as a screeb that will spawn behind your feet. As you can see on my radar, the screeb is back there. It does have weird aggro range, but I like to kill it anyways, just because I did die to it a few times when I left it alone. Now we need to take care of the unstoppable here, and then we can shoot the crystals on the wall. Once again, the Leviathan's Breath shots will kill the enemies around with the explosion damage off the unstoppable. Now that the unstoppable is dead, we're going to kill the knight, and then we can go to the boss room. The boss room will have one unstoppable champion in it, as well as a slightly phased damage phase. Once we kill all 3 of these crystals, we are able to deal damage to the boss. You don't really need to shoot the crystals until you're ready to hit the boss. I shot them though just in case the boss would walk with the unstoppable. Realistically, in an ideal world, you want to thunder crash the boss. I just did that because I thought they were clumped up, but it should be okay. Because the Leviathan's Breath ammo should be enough to kill the boss in the long run. For the rest of the Lost Sector, I'm just going to be playing a little bit of cat and mouse with the boss, dealing damage with my Salvager Salvo and my hand cannon. Once you kill the boss, you can loot the chest. Happy farming. Alright, taking a look at our Arc Warlock loadout, we are going to be using Crown of Tempest on Arc Warlock again. For the class ability, we're going to be using Healing Rift with Ball, Lightning, and Storm Grenades. Our aspects are going to be using Electrostatic Mind, defeating a target with arc abilities or defeating jolted or blinding targets creates an Ionic Trace. And Arc Soul, so we can get a little bit of extra DPS when we pop our Rift. For the fragments, we're going to be using Spark of Beacons. While we were amplified, our Arc special weapon, Final Blows, created Blinding Explosion. Spark of Shock, our Arc Grenades jolt targets. Spark of Discharge, Arc Weapon Final Blows have a chance to create an Ionic Trace. And Spark of Feedback, taking melee damage increases our melee damage. Moving on to the weapons, we're going to be using a hand cannon, just in case we don't have a grenade ready for the overloads. Salvager Salvo, since it has Demolitionist on it, and it's great at clearing lots of adds at one time. Leviathan's Breath, because it is an unstoppable stunner, as well as does great damage to bosses and overload champions. For the artifact, the important ones are Overload Hand Cannon, or Unstoppable Fusion Rifle and Unstoppable Scout Rifle. Elemental Orb's Arc is nice, but if you have it unlocked, you'll notice that they don't really do that much for your gameplay, so if you don't have it, it's not too important. Moving on to the mods, this is a hybrid build, so we're going to have an Ashes to Assets as well as a Hands-On, so we get increased super energy from both forms of abilities, as well as an Arc Siphon mod, so that we can generate orbs with our Salvager Salvo. We're going to have a Firepower so that our grenades generate orbs on kill, as well as a Grenade Kickstart so that we can get increased grenade recharge every time we throw our grenade. I have 2 arc resistances and a solar resistance on since there's lots of arc damage. On the boots, I have a recuperation, so every time I pick up an orb, I gain 70 HP, and an Orbs of Restoration, so every time I pick up an orb, my ability with the least energy gains some energy, and an arc weapon surge. On the bond, I have a powerful attraction, so when I pop my rift, it picks up all the orbs in the area. Moving on to the Lost Sector run, this first room is going to be the most dangerous room in the Lost Sector. There will be 2 overloads in here. We're going to start off by just killing both the overloads. We did get a little lucky and the second overload did run up, making it a little bit quicker. Once we defeat that second overload, we can move on and go kill the knight that's blocking the doorway. Once we have to kill all 3 of these crystals. Once we defeat all 3 crystals, the knight's shield will drop. When we drop down here, there will be an overload and an unstoppable, as well as a screeb that spawns behind you. Thanks to the arc resistance mods, the screeb does not actually kill me there. Once we kill the overload, we can move on to the unstoppable. As long as we can hit the unstoppable, it should kill all the enemies around with the explosion from Leviathan's Breath. Once we kill this unstoppable, we can move on to the knight, and then that will let us progress to the boss fight. In the boss room, there will be one unstoppable. The boss is slightly phased in the way that you have to kill the 3 crystals to be able to deal damage. And if you don't do the damage quick enough, they will respawn. I am actually going to die here because I thought that Unstoppable was alive. So I diverted my Chaos Reach. Could have killed the boss there, that's all on me. I would have done a fresh recording, except I've been getting air coded like crazy. Once you defeat the boss though, you're good to loot the chest. Happy farming.